I just ended the first cut of my life. I've been lifting for over 3 years, but made nutrition a focus kinda late in the game, and I've been bulking for the last year or so. With the holiday coming up, I did the classic summer cut and spent the last 9 weeks in a calorie deficit. The results were pretty good, and it wasn't as difficult as I thought, but there were definitely things that I could have done better. I want to share with you the top 5 things that I learned from my first cut to give you a head start when you start yours and hopefully let you avoid some of the mistakes that I made. The number one most important thing that I did to survive my cut was implement what I like to call backup calories. It's a fact that you're going to be hungry when you start your cut, and one of the hardest things you're going to have to overcome is not giving in to your hunger when your stomach starts to growl. This is more of a mental thing than a physical thing, because if you just wait long enough, then usually the hunger will pass. This is why I always made sure I had some backup calories waiting for me, either between lunch and dinner or just before I went to bed at night. It's so much easier to manage hunger knowing in a couple of hours you can eat a snack than eating them all in one go and knowing that for hours and hours you're done for the day and you can't have anything. It might be tempting to go all out on your main meals and try and get as many calories in as possible within your limit to feel as full as possible for longer, but taking away 200 to 300 calories and having that as a snack in a few hours did so much more for me than trying to feel as full as possible at my main meal times. These snacks might just be a protein bar or a slice of toasted butter or peanut butter, anything small, but it just mentally made a big difference knowing that I had that to look forward to and, defeat my hunger with, rather than just trying to get it all done in one go and then suffer through it. Tip number 2 is to be responsive to your changes in caloric needs as your weight decreases and as your cut progresses. It's easy to be kind of lazy and just once you work out your maintenance calories, lower that by 400 to 500 and stick with that for the entire cut without changing it. Once you learn how much you can eat, it kind of takes away some of the mental stress of planning your meals. But as you lose weight and body fat as your cut progresses, your maintenance calories will change. I was so scared about overreacting and losing weight too fast and risking losing my muscle that for 2 weeks I stalled and didn't lower my calories at all. I knew that weight loss wasn't linear, you can fall fast and then kind of level off for a bit, but I didn't react fast enough because I was scared and ended up wasting 2 weeks of my cut. It wasn't super detrimental to my progress, but it's definitely something I'm going to be looking out for the next time I cut. So if you see the scale getting stuck or even going up a little bit for a decent amount of time, don't be afraid to adjust your calorie intake, lower it a bit to get the ball rolling again. Tip 3 is actually the opposite of tip number 2, and that's to not overreact. As I said earlier, weight loss is not linear. You will lose weight much faster in the beginning when you first start your cut. This, however, is mostly water weight. I got scared in these first 2 weeks when I realized I was losing more than I wanted to and actually upped my calories to 2,500 rather than 2,400, but it was overreacting. This rapid weight loss leveled off after a few days and I quickly realized that 2,400 calories, my original deficit, was actually the correct number. While it's important to adjust if you start to stall, you have to give it enough time to see if it's a natural stall that will go away in a few days or something that you really need to change your plan around because you've managed to lose enough weight to change how many calories you need to cut by. The best way to do this is to take your weight every day, but then average it out over the week. If your weight loss is consistent from the week before, then carry on as you're going. If you've stalled, then you can change. Tip number 4 is to manage your expectations. Now, I was guilty, as I'm sure many people are, when they enter their first, second, probably even third cuts. They think they're going to cut for 2 months and end up looking like an Instagram model. If that happens to you, then congratulations, you're much more genetically blessed than I am, but chances are the changes will be noticeable but fairly moderate, quite realistic. You'll get slightly more pronounced abs, maybe lose a little bit of body fat, maybe get a bit more vascular, have veins appearing, but any real changes are probably going to be fairly minor. This is absolutely okay and normal. Fitness is for the long term. It's not about, short-term transformations. Unless you want to inject something in your body, in which case, this ain't the video for you, mate. Be happy with any changes that occur. Don't really go into it with any expectations. And what will happen is that as you, proceed to bulk in between, continue to progressively overload and then cut again, every time you go through this cycle, your physique will get better and better and better. And for the love of God, don't diet for 6 months on your first cut and get down to 6% body fat, because not only will you hate life, you're wasting so much muscle building opportunity. Your future self will not appreciate it, trust me. The fifth and final thing that I learned whilst on a cut is that your definition of progress in the gym will change as you're dieting. On a bulk, progressive overload is always the focus, and whether this takes the form of more weight, sets, reps, rest time, better form, anything, your focus should be on making the exercise more difficult and training harder and better than last time. On a cut, not so much. It's certainly possible to make progress on a cut. My bicep and tricep numbers went up for the first few weeks, but your focus should be on maintenance. You're not putting your body in the best environment for building muscle when you're on a cut, and while it's possible, especially if you're earlier in your training, it's not really your goal. If you can progress, great, but don't injure yourself trying to, match what you were doing when you were 10 pounds heavier, and this goes doubly for when you're trying to actually increase weight. Save hitting those PRs for your bulk. And there you have it, the 5 things that stood out to me the most on my first cut. I'm quite happy with my progress, and while I'm enjoying being back on a bulk now, which I never thought I'd say, I think to stuff my face with calories the first time I did a bulk, I definitely know a few things that I will implement on my next cut that will make me physically and mentally more prepared and get better results. If any of these helped you, feel free to subscribe and hit the like button. It really does go a long way to helping the channel grow. And please do feel free to leave a comment down below if you have any tips that help you when you cut, whether it's your first, second, 5th, 10th or 100th. Until then though, my name's Dan, and remember, always keep on smiling.